All right, welcome to another live stream, everybody. 6 p.m. Eastern. We are here. We're answering questions. Can be different topics from week to week, or sometimes it's general open forum, kind of like this. If you joined the chat early, which you can always show up before the live stream, and there's usually like a video playing and people chatting, and people can ask questions. And that's where I grab the first questions that I want to answer while people are kind of funneling in and everything. So this one actually came from my Facebook post. So if you follow me personally on Facebook, you can interact with me a little more frequently, not a ton more. It's not like a special club or anything, but you see more announcements and stuff I do, advertising for work, what I'm doing in life, all that kind of stuff. And this question comes from Sarah Woodring. It says, question for the next live stream. Corey, do you rely much on product reviews when you shop online? What makes a good product review in your opinion, and what makes an impactful product review for the business? Yes, so I was looking for some items yesterday for our retail store to fix a couple issues we got going on, or not even to fix, but to improve upon. And I was very much reading reviews. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the bad reviews, and I'm also looking for the person that has like used it the exact way I have, or someone who's gone way down the nerd path. And so sometimes when I'm looking at like a USB cable, I want the guy that's got 6 different testers, has already tested 42 different cables for his business, because that's his job. He's the IT guy, and he's either super angry or delighted that this thing at $7.82 is the best cable on the market or the worst one. Yes, you can watch, tech YouTubers and all of that, but usually they have a little more influence, as in maybe they're getting paid or maybe it's in their best interest. Where on Amazon and other review platforms, that can definitely be the case too. But if I've got 5,000 reviews to look through, and I can kind of pick and choose and look for that fellow nerd in an area that I'm probably not even that nerdy in. That's what I'm looking for. And then also looking at did it arrive broken? Is it often hard to put together? All of those things. And so, do I think they make a big impact on business? Yes, I think it's actually the biggest advertisement piece any business has. I ask you guys to leave us reviews every time you buy products from us. I've been asking you guys to leave us store reviews, and it's the common day word of mouth. 30, 40 years ago, you would ask friends and family, and you'd have a circle, and they would tell you, hey, this is the plumber you hire. Nowadays, there's 300 plumbers to choose from, and it's pretty much reviews, and that's your filtering method. And so getting more reviews just helps. But there are certain impactful reviews like, hey, this was my third plumber. The previous 2 messed up. I specifically needed a commercial plumber. I specifically had a weird use case. Like we run into it all the time. If I was looking for a plumber, I always specify it, and then they screw it up, and then I specify it again. We very specifically need temperature controllers attached to our water heaters that go down to at least 70 degrees. And pretty much every time they go, yeah, no problem, bro. And then I come back in after they're done and I go, yep, your thing only goes down to 90. And they go, oh, well, this is the one we always use. And I go, yeah, remember we had that 30-minute conversation when I say, slow down, don't use the one you always use. It won't go low enough. And you said, don't worry, it won't be a problem. And then you had to reinstall 2 or 3 new temperature regulators. So if I was to put that into review for that plumber and kind of tell that story, the next person installing a fish room or some application that needed lower temperatures would go, hey, that plumber has been down this road. When I go to talk to them again, they are more likely to actually pause and put in the correct one the first time. And I run into that with like every plumber, and it gets weird to like, okay, I got it. But so often they don't have it. They just order the one. Even when I give them a part number, I go, I want you to order this specific one. And they go, yep. And they order it. And it's like, nope, you did not order the specific one. You ordered the one with the same exact part number, missing the L for low temperature. I called it out. Don't order the one that doesn't have the L. order the one. And so that's why I have a pile of temperature regulators that won't go down that cold, uh, just sitting around because I don't know what to do with them. So, but yes, review is very important. If you guys, ever want to help us, which I hope you do, you can come here to our website. Let me show you that real quick. Made it as easy as possible. If you look, does my pointer show? I need to get it so that my pointer shows. But right up at the top, reviews, you can click that, and that'll be store reviews. We've neglected store reviews for way too long, so we only have 377, even though we have 77,000 total reviews. But like on Google, we have 4,000 plus reviews, and Yelp we have reviews, and Facebook we have reviews. And part of the problem is you kind of need reviews on every single platform, and you need them. And most often people will leave you one review, which is super awesome. I appreciate that. But if you really want to be overachiever, you leave it on Yelp and Google and their website and Facebook. Or if they've done you dirty too, you leave them all in all those places too. But the more places you leave that review, the more they will actually get seen. And then different things like Google, for instance, if you're using Google Maps, it will use Google's reviews. If you use the iPhone or the iPhone Maps, it'll use I believe it's actually using Yelp reviews. I have to actually double check now. Now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, hold on, I did this research. But each platform, they don't want to support each other, so they're using different reviews and everything, and they're pulling from different areas. And so even on Google, like the retail store's got 4,000 reviews. That only shows up for the retail store. And then like on our website, those ones will feed into online reviews. But if you were to look at us and you bought through like a Google shopping link or something like that, it'd be like, oh, they only have 300 and some reviews, even though we've got thousands and thousands and thousands of reviews between the different platforms. So yeah, if you want to help, any store, whether it's a big brick and mortar, an online store, a mom and pop store, honestly, when people say vote with your wallet and that kind of stuff, you can do that, but reviews do make a big difference, especially, both positive and negative. So, and yes, some reviews can get scrubbed out. Some platforms work different ways, but in general, that's just the way it goes. Yeah. So Steven says, have you ever had a review so unjustified that you had it removed? Yeah. Yep. There's been racism. There's been just bigotry. That one we just don't tolerate that. Or sometimes we've also had reviews that they literally say like, Pizza Hut is the worst. Like, okay, we're not Pizza Hut. You've literally clicked on the wrong business. But in general, you can only really remove a review if they've using obscene language, they're doing racism or sexism or something like that. It's actually, like on Google and stuff, fairly hard to get a review removed. You have to prove that they are like an ex-employee or a competitor or something like that, and that's not easy to do. But yeah, and it's a long process too. It's not just like I click a button. It's like, oh, this is going to be a 2-month thing to get that removed and all that. So can people go to your Lexington store and shop, or is it online only? It's only online. We don't have a physical store in Lexington. The next question we had, is it a common thing for albino types of guppies to be harder to breed than normal guppies? Yes, I've talked about this. Maybe my guppy presentation that's over an hour long. I know I've talked about it in some live streams, some other stuff, but in general, yes, I do believe that albino guppies are less hardy. They don't have as big of batches. I just think genetically they're not as strong. I believe it has something to do with their vision. They don't eat as easily and as readily, which means they don't have as big of spawns, but they don't chase down their fry quite as much. But they don't have bigger spawns. So it's kind of like it kind of levels out. But in general, if I ever have the chance to get an albino version or like a normal version, I will take the normal version, even if the albino version looks cooler, because I typically just have more success. And I've talked with lots of breeders and other guppy lovers, and that kind of seems to be the consensus out there for most people. Obviously, that's not going to be everyone's situation. You might go, wow, I only thrive with albinos, and maybe you've got that secret unlocked. But for a lot of us, at least in the last 15 years or so, definitely seen it harder, especially when you get to things that's like the albino blue topazes and things that they've become so heavily inbred. And it could be one of those things like the like hyphen genes and other swordtails and stuff where it well now technically the hyphen gene has been isolated twice, um, but it could be like, oh, albino's only ever been isolated once, and so every albino you see is a descendant of that somehow. And sometimes genetics get weird with that, and it can take a very long time for people to replicate a single gene because it's a lot of work. So, like the hyphen gene, if you weren't the first one to do it, you're not really going to make any money on it. It's purely like, cool, you spent the last 25 years of your life, and now there's a different hyphen gene that basically looks the exact same, but genetically it's different, and nobody really cares except for super nerds. But it will, if it keeps going, technically strengthen the lines of fish. So that is pretty cool, but not nearly. Most people are going to work on, like in guppies, the ribbon fin gene or the balloon type gene for different types of fish, or the sparrow gene. Anything that's new, you might make money on. Doing something again that someone's already done, but it's a different line entirely. Super cool nerd wise, not profitable, and on average, most people would prefer to make some money from their hobby than not. So the next question I had, or that we received early, and I'm watching the chat too. So I know your team have a generous refund policy when a customer buys a fish or plant against our advice and it goes wrong, and the customer wants a refund. How do we deal with that? Most often, we will refund them and then politely cancel them as a customer. And not like canceling online, but we just go, yeah, that didn't really work out. We tried to give you advice and then it didn't work out. And here you're wanting a refund after not listening to our advice. And if they're still, there's a big conversation. If they're like, yep, I should have listened to you guys. I'll never not listen to you guys again. Could you just make this one right? And then that probably we do refund and we keep working with them. But if they are up in the employee's face and how dare you and all of that, we will refund them, and then we will ask them to shop somewhere else because it's not worth it to have that in the day-to-day stress of working somewhere, right? Like we're talking about fish, we're talking about a therapeutic hobby, and people can get irate. Sometimes they've got stuff going on at home or at work, and they're just losing it, and they're taking it out on somebody. And so we typically will always refund, especially in that instance, so that if they were to, take their displeasure to all the reviews and all the websites and all the Facebook groups and all the stuff, we could still say like, but you can't say we didn't refund you because we did give you your money back, right? Like we literally don't want anything to do with you anymore. We've given your money back. We've separated ways and we no longer want to do business with you. We actually have had people where 6 months later they come back and they're trying to apologize and they go, well, I can't buy this at other places. People don't have as healthy a fish. And we go, yeah, we know that. And I understand you know that now, but that ship has sailed. You were very hard on the employee and that you were dealing with, and a lot of times multiple employees, because sometimes there's personality conflict. And then you escalate it maybe to a manager or a different customer service person, and sometimes both. You're in the store, then you go online, then you take it to the live stream. Like it could be a bunch of us. And definitely notes are made on accounts. Hey, this person claims this. We're making a one-time exception here. And then down the road, it's like, hey, here comes that one-time exception again. Okay, we're not doing it this time. In general, we err on the side of freak accidents happen. But if you ignore our advice and we tell you, like, I can't pull it up because I don't have an example right now, but literally we will note on your account when we told you don't put these fish together, you buy them anyway, so that when you walk back in and it's a different employee, they can see on your account, hey, this employee said we advised them not to do this. They said they were doing it anyway. We let them know there wouldn't be any refund or anything going on. So that way when they come back and you go, hey, didn't we have this conversation with you? So yeah, and sometimes there's different things. Like you said, don't put my neon tetras with my Oscar because I'll eat them. And they go home and they put them with their Jaguar cichlid, and then they eat them. And that's like, you're right. I guess we technically didn't have that conversation. We should have expanded that conversation to go, don't put them with any fish that are 14 inches big. That's not going to work. But we will typically side with, do you have another tank that needs those cardinal tetras? Let's find a way to make this work. Sure, we'll replace them this one time. You've got a track record of being a good customer. This was a misunderstanding. Yeah, you spend so much money trying to acquire customers that you don't want to lose them. And then, especially if they've been a good customer, if they're a first-time customer, you still give them the benefit of the doubt. And then after that, if actions keep going poorly, then it's not worth it. I mean, a lot of people will think like, yeah, you always got to make money, you got to have customers, but the wrong customers will literally just put you out of business as well. So you can't spend all day, if you're a plumber and they're complaining about it and you're losing money on the job left and right, and they do that every week, right? That will just put you out of business. And so you're better off not doing it, especially with actions you lose money. If you go, hey, this customer, we lose $50 from them every time they walk through the door, you have to stop letting them walk through the door, essentially. Let's see here. I always fill my online cart your website, but I can't wait for shipping, and I can't wait for shipping. So I end up going to an RPP store. I always feel bad. Sometimes you can't wait. Maybe you have to have those meds, or you have to have something else. My advice, if you actually feel bad, would be plan ahead a little more. Really, everybody should have basically the Med Trio sitting in a cabinet. If you don't, you're really at a disadvantage when it comes to fish keeping over the next 3 years. But most other things, I find most people go, I couldn't wait. And it's like, you couldn't, or you didn't want to. Because if you want to order an air pump, you're somewhere between 3 and 5 days of getting it. Now, you could say, my air pump broke today and my fish are going to die, and then I would agree. I'd be like, yep, you really roll into that RPP store. But also, I would say, I have no problem with you going to an RPP store. We still get a piece of the action, so that's great. We're selling it to them. And, so it's kind of a win-win, honestly. It doesn't really matter. That's not true. It might matter more. Some of the RPP stores are really struggling. They might be in smaller towns. They might have stuff going on. They're trying to build their business. Corey running a store in 2013 is a much different Corey than today. And that extra, if that extra walk-in happened in 2013, that might make the whole day, right? Where your one order probably doesn't make it or break us today. But if everybody did that, that would kind of break us. But in general, it all smooths out. So, yeah, the Med Trio is Maricin, Paracleanse, and Icex. It's on our website. You can read all about it. There's probably 15 videos about it. There's blog articles about it. There's other people that have made videos about it. Lots of stores are using it. And it will cure basically all the common ailments of fish. We use it when we quarantine new fish to bring them in. All of those things. I won't go into a full, to do it justice, it's a 20, 30 minute spiel. And even then people get lost in why and how and all of that. And so we won't go too far down the road there. Candy placed an order today to get her 6-year coin. That's right. So at 72 months, which Candy is now at, a very, very few people have hit 72 months of membership on YouTube. You get 5% off the website once you sync your account. You will get the coins if you're in the USA. You will get the monthly speaker that we pay for. We pay them to give you guys a professional talk every month. We go and look for different, what we call specialists in the hobby. And sometimes they're super nerdy medical type talks. Sometimes they're, hey, I've been a hobbyist for 40 years and here's what I've learned type talks, but I'm considered the expert on this topic. Anywhere in between. What else? What else was I going to say about that? Oh, and if you're a local retail store customer, do yourself a favor and sync your account online, because it's still in the beta testing phase, but we should have a button on the register now that basically we hit a button, it'll discount everything, it'll make things super duper easy. It's going to start checking customers for what discounts might they have. And the membership online is definitely one of the ones that would want to be applied. So we're still working out bugs, so it could still go away, but it'll never hurt you to have those two synced up. Another little announcement here before I answer some more questions. The air pumps that we have, some more right here actually. This one's dead because I was testing it. I ran it all the way down. But air pumps available on our website, and I don't know how many of the RPPs, half, more. I don't have that exact detail, but basically our air pumps now last longer. I did my own personal testing, which is different than what we say on the website. It's better to promise you less and over-deliver than it is to make a big, bold claim, and then for some reason it doesn't deliver. And so officially, these air pumps now last 20 hours if you don't put it in power saver mode, and 40 hours if you do. And that's up from 18 up from 8 and 10, I think, is what it was up from. And yeah, it costs you guys no more. So we have just increased battery size. We had to have custom battery sizes made to fit inside of here. Yeah, so there you go. The other thing that I was going to say, in my personal testing, I had a bunch of them laid out, some in power saver mode, some in normal mode, and like on this bad boy, it went 50 hours actually in power saver mode for me. So we're claiming 40. I actually got 50. We did a lot of tests, and some, depending on, I think it was heat and how cold, but we would get anywhere from 48 to 50 on basically all those tests. You get slightly less on these guys. On the smaller one, I think I was getting like 47 and a half. It gets kind of hard because you set up the test and you got to go, where will I be roughly 45 to 50 hours from now? And so I had like Katie, my wife, helping me, and you try to set timers, and things come up in life, and so we thought, hey, we'll make it super easy, and we'll just call it 40 hours. We know we can always deliver at least that to you guys, and so yeah, with all the flooding and the hurricanes and all the weather and stuff, definitely want to improve upon that, and we'll keep improving upon products. So, but yeah, no cost increase for you. Same cost, so just purely better. Next question that I'll grab here. Let's see. Oh, this is more of a statement here, but I'll read it. If you're not using the co-op brine shrimp, you're seriously missing out. Have never been more impressed and believed in a product more. After using tons of different brands, there is no equal. Yes. Our brine shrimp, if you use it with our brine shrimp salt and our hatcher, I mean, you don't have to, but a lot of people struggle. But if you use it the way that we recommend, you get insanely good results. And we searched the planet for the best eggs because it's important for the store, it's important for breeders, it's important for all of that. And we don't make that much money on it, honestly. The price continues to go up. They have to be they have to be sent over on frozen cargo containers, and then they have to be kept. Well, they don't have to. We keep them frozen also on top of that. So when we actually factor in the price plus all the moving costs and storage and all of that to keep them as fresh as absolutely possible, because I have to buy like $75,000 to $100,000 worth of eggs at a time, which is a mind-blowing proportion. Yeah, so I'm glad you're getting great results from that, because we tried pretty darn hard. Dean put in a lot of time and effort testing lots of different eggs for us, and coming up with Dean type tests. Oh yeah, I missed that question earlier. I meant to touch on that. Someone said, what is an RPP? That stands for Retail Partner Store. It's the Retail Partner Program is actually what it is. And it's more than just wholesale. Like we have it, we're kind of in between, because a lot of stores just go, what's RPP? And it's like, well, it's wholesale. But it's not just wholesale, because I don't want to say it's family either, but we have wicked good support, dedicated support. We ship quickly. Like, we are different than wholesalers. Wholesalers, you put in an order, goes into no man's land, and eventually you'll get it, and you'll be missing 10 to 15% of what's supposed to be in there because they're out of stock and they actually just missed it and all of that. And so we try to streamline all that as easy as possible. So if you have a problem with the product, you walk into the store and you go, hey, there's a problem. They hand you a brand new one. Then they email us and go, hey, there's a problem. We go, great. We will get that taken care of. Would you like a credit or would you like another one with your next order? Easy peasy. Got someone dedicated to that. And we want that to happen so that we can document it and so that we can go, okay, that's the second one of those we've seen, but how we've sold, we sold 900. Probably not a crazy big thing right now to tackle, but we'll keep adding to the stats and we'll see if that becomes a thing. How many fish does a store have to sell to pay for a month's worth of utilities, rent, and labor? I did that math. Our store has to do, we basically break even. It depends, obviously, like what are you actually selling, what fish or a dry good, or how many hours was there overtime and that kind of stuff. But in general, to break even at our store, to not lose money, we have to sell about $60,000 worth of stuff. And if you were to put that into neon tetras, for instance, let's do that math. Let's say it's a $3 neon tetra. Yeah, 60,000, that's a lot of zeros, divided by 3. That's about 20,000 neon tetras. You divide that by 30. We have to sell 666 neon tetras a day to break even, to pay people's medical, 401k, the rent, the utilities, buy more fish, all that kind of stuff. So, and that's our best current guess. Not a guess, but our formulas tell us it's about that where we're at right now, depending on the exact mix. If you buy all brine trip eggs, we got to sell more than $60,000 because there's not much room on that. Yeah. So yeah, that's where, and it wasn't always like that, right? Like if it's just me in the store when I first opened, rent was cheaper and it was just me. And so I didn't have to make that much money. But now that we have all of these employees and that we do have medical and we do have 401k and all of that, and we do have so things that I ran into that you don't ever think about when you start a business is like the break room. Like when it's just you don't need a break room. But okay, now we have have to pay over $1,000 a month just for the break room. And then when you get multiple employees and they start taking lunches, you're like, oh, I have to have 2 or 3 microwaves. And then you're like, they each need a dedicated circuit. They all want to, cook food at the same time. And so you just kind of get these rolling of effects of it's like, wow, it gets expensive quick. And, what might have been $15,000 to be profitable at the beginning is now a $60,000 thing. And so you got to be careful of creep. And that's why staffing's so important and just being efficient is important and all of that. And sometimes you'll see businesses where it's like, hey, it's better to have the plumber just be one plumber. And that's what they do instead of a plumber and 3 people because maybe overhead crushes that business. So next question we had from early in the chat was how can I increase my chances of my angelfish on raising their own fry? They're at a point where the eggs hatch, but they try and keep them on the glass and they fail. First thing I would say is it only the pair in there? That's the most important thing. If they've got to watch from predators, whether it's snails, bristlenose, tetras, whatever it is, that's going to make it 5x as hard right there. So only them. They have a better chance at learning. I think you had said you've watched 14 spawns and they haven't pulled it off yet. Some parents will literally just never figure it out. So there is that. If you do have predators or you're still not having luck, try leaving the light on 24 hours a day. Sometimes one of them will get a little snacky and eat fry. But if you leave the light on, both of them stay awake and they don't sleep and they keep an eye out the whole time. Yeah, but most people will artificially raise. And one thing I would point out is if it was easy to spawn them where they will self-raise, angelfish would be like guppies. They'd be much cheaper. Now, they do have giant spawns, so that does help keep the price down. But in general, it's not common to just go, yeah, I'm just going to grab a pair and they'll self-raise. It's like, well, that's something like, oh, they're self-raising and they're doing all that by themselves. that is not what I would consider the norm. And so at a certain point, you would just remove them and raise them yourself. That's what most people do. So going back to the running the store question, is that 60K number for the store before the expansion? Kind of. It's a mix, actually. So we've been paying rent on the expansion even though we're not open. So it does include the rent and the utilities. But when we open the expansion, we will need more employees. And so employees cost way more than rent by like a bunch. And then you've also got like by doubling the amount of tanks, right? So like you'll need more people cleaning. You'll have more, however much fish death we have right now, we'll have twice as much, or at least, right? Because we'll have more. So you're ordering more. And so, yeah, I don't know what the new numbers will look like. We'll know that after about 6 to 8 months of running with the expansion open. We'll know like, hey, what does it take to break even? In general, though, things scale better if you're managing the business right. So like me at the top of the entire company, if I've got my focus on it, in theory, the bigger you get, the better it should be. That doesn't always work. Like, oh, why don't you open up 5 aquarium co-ops? I don't have 5 great managers, right? But if you were to have 5 aquarium co-ops and you bought fish for all 5 at the same time, and you pick them up with a U-Haul from the airport, that shipping bill and all of that stuff will economize a lot better over 5 stores than it will just 1 store. So a great example of that would be when we had the warehouse here in Washington and we had to run these type of numbers. When we shipped everything out of Washington, when we would order plants, we'd order from multiple farms. We'd get 2 to 3 plant shipments a week, and on average, they'd be 40 to 60 boxes of plants. And we'd go to the airport, we would load up a white transit van, we would drive them back, and we would do that 2 to 3 times a week, right? And the shipping on 40 to 60 boxes of plants is somewhere between $400 and $700, depending on time of year, the service level, and the airline. Okay, so that basically, let's just call it, worked out to be about $10 per box. We just shipped plants in from the farm. It came in on Friday. I looked at the invoice this weekend, and the shipping was $468, and we brought 4 boxes in. So because we don't get the economy of scale, because it doesn't make sense to go to the airport to pick up 4 boxes, that's more like $115 per box, right? And so that scale can crush you or totally win the game for you. And we had to factor that in of like moving a warehouse to Kentucky means we don't get to do that anymore. And so plants became more expensive for the retail store when we pulled that off. But stuff gets out faster to the customers and stuff like that for the majority 70%. So any tips on high density paramecium cultures? Got hundreds of Congo spotted puffers. Will probably exceed my current method in the next week or 2. Yeah, I don't think I have any other than like just doing like 1-gallon jars and using it's like, what is it, little wheat pellets, I think is what Dean's using, or like cracked wheat. I think it's cracked wheat. And just setting up tons of them at the same time. I could definitely see that being a burden. So I got some from one of my people at the store real quick. Cool. Always getting updates. Let's see here. How many store tanks will the co-op have once is all said and done the expansion? I'd have to well, hold on. I think I have some cameras up. I could probably count them real quick. Let me load those cameras. I'm trying to think of the big wall there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, it's 15. So we're adding 45. Let me do the math. Yeah, 45 33-gallon tanks. And then we're adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Adding 12 90-gallon ponds. And the quarantine, I think that's another 18 33-gallon tanks. And then the beta system, I think it's 620. What's 6 times 24? 6 times 24 is that's going to be 144, but we already have 2, so it's only going to grow by 4, so we'll minus 48. We'll be adding an additional 96 beta tanks as well. So if you were just to like not factor in gallons and just how many tanks is that, Corey? It's about 106 or about 175 more tanks, where the current store has less than 100. So it's actually more than double, and all the tank size will be getting bigger, which will allow us a much bigger assortment of fish. So a warehouse in theory would be way more profitable, maybe a small storefront. You would think that, except look at how expensive warehouse rent is. I think ours is $25,000 plus with no utilities, and the utilities is what gets you. You don't even know it yet. Oh, the warehouse is so big and it's snowing. Like, oh my gosh, have you seen that heat bill? Like, whoo. But also the thing to think about is with a big warehouse, like at scale, things get cheaper. But the minute you don't have scale, you fold up instantly. Like, oh yeah, the minimum we got to make, because it's like to keep Aquarium Co-op alive, minimally, I think it's at least, well, I shouldn't say I think, like it really depends on the product selection, and like if everyone's buying lights, that's different, but it's at least $500,000 a month to not lose money. There's a tall order every day of every month to not be losing money. And the thing is, like when you're one person in a store and you have a bad day, like when it was me just in the store, and if let's say I only made $200, it's like, okay, well I lost $100 today. Like I break even at 300 maybe at the very beginning, right? It's costing like $9,000 to run everything. And then you have the retail, or you have the online or something or this is bigger scale, and it's like, oh, we only did 18,000. Like, oh, we lost $6,000 today. Like, oh my gosh. So a couple days in a row like that, you string that together, and it can be rough. So, that's where you'll see like, oh, Corey says today's the day to buy plants. Like today is the day. Buying on a Sunday, they ship out Monday, makes sense. And that's why got to make sure we keep selling stuff. Are wild fish sold at Aquarium Co-op? Yeah, we sell wild fish. We also sell locally bred. We also sell not locally bred. We don't sell any modified. Genetically modified. Well, glowfish. Because you could definitely, like, guppies are, you line breed their genetics, and there would be kind of modified, if you will. Let's see here. I've got another question here. I've got baby green Corridoras in a breeder box. I should be feeding these at least twice a day. Is that correct? Yeah, I would say at least twice. If you can get them on Rapashi, that's a food that'll stay water stable for a day or two at a time. That takes all that guesswork out. So depending if you can get them up to that size, do that. Otherwise, live baby Brian does a whole lot. And yeah. I've loved watching these guys in the camera all day today. I realized I fed them like 5 minutes before I went live, and I was like, that's dumb. I should have done that on camera. People would have loved to see, like, the eel was out and about and eating and all that, and yeah. The rosy barbs that I want to clean up this plant are finally at the store. They just got to finish. I almost took them yesterday, but I've got another batch in quarantine. I want to take them from the quarantine, so I'm not just stealing from the retail store, and then you guys go, hey, you didn't have any. Like, yeah, sorry, I took them. So when the next batch is ready, then, because I'm going to make a video and show you guys how fast they eat staghorn and hair algae like that. And you'll probably run to your local fish store and be like, I need rosy barbs. Turns out they're amazing, because they are. Can I keep wait, what? Ah. Please, what can I keep with a spotted Congo puffer? My tank's 5 foot long, 2 feet wide, and 18 inches tall. In general, lots of tetras. I like rummy nose, Congo, not Congo. Well, you could keep Congo tetras, but I was gonna say cardinal tetras. With the Congos and like rainbows and Colombian blue tetras, they're all kind of bigger bodied and they're real fast to the food. It can be hard to get good food to the puffer. So in general, I would say just fish that aren't going to dominate the food. So I wouldn't put loaches because you want to make sure they eat right. Josh, donating 5 memberships. Thank you very much. If you're local or if you're going to buy online, make sure you sync that account up, save your 5%. Will I please describe how I set up the quarantine tank at my store versus how I do it at home? Well, the tanks are pretty much set up the same. A sponge filter, crushed coral, and water. That's pretty much what's in those quarantine tanks here at home. And I medicate the same way, the Med Trio at home or at the store. And yeah, it's been a really good system where the most important part is having an extra tank. That's like the most important part. And then just having the meds on hand and making them easy to catch, putting a good light on it. Good lighting makes it so you can see illness. It makes you see the death. You can see everything that's going on. So often you'll see people use like a bucket or a Sterilite tub and like just room light. And I'm all for saving money. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for saving money. I'm the guy that I've been preaching sponge filters before I ever sold them. Like I get it. I like doing stuff on the cheap, but there is something to like. I want really good lighting if I'm going in for surgery. I don't want it to be like, oh, it's a cloudy day today. Sorry, I can't see what we're operating on. So there are places, especially a quarantine tank. If you want to have a cheaper light on your display tank, by all means, you can do that. And not that cheap would be bad. I would say a very bright, good light, and adjustable is important too. I was teaching my employees about lighting and quarantine, right? So some fish don't like bright light. And it's like, yeah, we need to turn the light down if we're going to put this species in this tank for quarantine. But then if you turn it down too much, you won't be able to see it. So maybe you turn it up all the way. Again, we have adjustable lights, which are going away, dang it. But adjustable lights, so you can go, okay, I'm looking for the disease, they're looking good. Let me turn you back down to like 20% so you're mellow. And we do that. So yeah, but essentially the same here and there. I really spend most of my life in every facet, whether it's fish or not, dedicating myself to a task, finding the best for me, like whether it's the best shirt, whether it's the best food, whether it's the best fish or car or whatever. And then once I've gone through the gamut of what I consider to be the best, then that's just my process until I happen to find something better. And a lot of times I won't find it better just because I'm not looking for it. So a lot of times people are like, well, was this med better than this med? Like, I don't know. I don't have 15 years straight with that medicine over millions of fish at this point. I can't tell you. Like, it could be the next best thing, but if my thing is working, I don't go out of my way. So let's see. I was in store, not an RPP according to the website, but they were selling Aquariumcoop sponges in Easy Green. Does a store need to be RPP to sell Aquariumcoop products? In general, yes. We can't technically, it's hard to stop someone from selling our stuff, but we won't give them a discount. But there could be a thing, like if you could do us a favor, you could shoot us an email and go, hey, this store's selling your stuff. And we can go, oh, look, there's a bug and it's not listed on the website. Or, oh, they haven't actually okayed the thing that we sent them. I would be surprised because it makes no sense, right? If you're selling our stuff in a store, why wouldn't you want to be in the RPP program and pay less when you buy it? So I would think it's some kind of bug or something more than someone going, ooh, watch this. I'm going to pay full retail and resell it for no profit. Like that. That's just, doesn't make any sense. There are people that will buy it, import it to a different company or country and sell it for a crazy amount of money. That does happen. And it's nearly impossible for us to stop. We've got some ways to detect it, and half of you would be like, why would you even stop that? Well, we don't want like someone in, let's just say, Germany to go, wow, Aquarium Co-op sucks. Their sponge filters are 400 euros each. Like we don't want, because when we can sell in Germany, like we get our products there and we're working with partners, we don't want the reputation of already we're bad or something. So we wouldn't want that to happen. So that's why we would stop them, even if they bought them at us at retail. And 400 euros, obviously, an example that doesn't make sense, but if they bought one from us from 10 US dollars and then sold it for 19 euros, that's already establishing like, wow, Aquarium Co-op's really expensive. And so we wouldn't want to see that. I just got 4 dwarf emerald Danios for my club meeting for 45 Aussie dollars. They sell for my store at 30 each. It's the best deal you've ever got at a meet. What's the best deal I've ever got? Usually it's African cichlids because my local club is, I'm just gonna say like they're afraid of African cichlids. We've got very soft water. We love our planet tanks. We love shrimp. As a club, we love that. And then, it's like, oh, here's these big scary cichlids. And they could be like, I know I've bought in groups of shell dwellers. Like, oh, there's 8 multifasciatus in a bag and it's $3. Where if you're to buy that in the store, they're $15 a fish. It's a great fish. That happens a lot. Even some apistos and things will do that. So I can't think of specifically the absolute best deal. But there definitely have been plenty of good deals out there. Some of the rainbow fish eggs sometimes that Gary Lang brought in, those were pretty good deals too. Let's see. Is it true that balloon mollies are the way they are because they're deformed? They are deformed and in pain. Uh, I would say no. That would be like saying, are goldfish the way they are because they're deformed and in pain? Like you could say yes, they're deformed from what standard, but you could also say that about basically every dog on the planet and every cat on the planet. Like they are bred specifically to have traits, some worse than others, right? Pugs and Frenchie dogs, both those, like they can have breathing issues, and someone would say they're deformed. You could make a case like they're in pain. Like I'm not sure they're in pain. I literally have balloon mollies right there. They're making babies, no problem at all. They love eating. They, as far as I can tell, are as happy every day as my other mollies that I have a few tanks down. They live just as long. Definitely, there are some conversations and debates to be had if you wanted to on I do or don't like them. I do or don't think it's right. I personally don't think it's wrong. I do think modifying fish like a blood parrot where you literally cut their tail off and let it heal, I feel like they probably don't like that. You could even have conversations, it's up for debate whether fish can even feel pain. We can detect that they have stress hormones, but we actually are having a hard time proving if they can actually feel pain. That being said, I just hit my microphone. I don't operate under the assumption that fish can't feel pain, because if they can, that would be horrible. So I operate under, yeah. If I was that animal, would I like that? Probably not. So I try to do my best of like, let's give you good food, let's give you a good tank, let me appreciate you. And I'm sure the entire internet's always watching what I do, and so there's Reddit posts being made right now probably of like, this guy is such a hypocrite. He kept this fish and did this thing. Like these clown launches were in less than a 10 million gallon tank. Even though they're growing in a 150, going to go in an 800 gallon. Baboo puffers, there's people that say they should never be in less than 1,000 gallons. I had them in a 360 and an 800. I've got a 1,500 gallon ready. There's a lot of things that in life where you have to just go, what makes sense for me and my family, and do I or don't I think that this is okay? And I think balloon mollies are that of, do I think this is or isn't okay? Now there's a lot of other. There's like balloon gouramis and balloon tetras. There's even balloon rainbow fish. I haven't kept any of them yet, so I will reserve my opinion on that because just because one's balloon, like the guppies seem to thrive, or not guppies, sorry, the balloon mollies seem to thrive. Where I have kept goldfish, and I would argue that I think they do worse. Like balloon guppy or balloon mollies seem to do just as good as normal mollies for me. Where goldfish, fancy goldfish, heavily line bred, but also kind of that same deformity, do worse than the normal goldfish for me. I've chosen not to keep any of them anymore, but I don't judge people that do keep them because I also think that there's still more for me to learn on certain things, and different genetics make a huge difference. And I believe in general, the goldfish thing is more about colors and what sells, and not so much what lives a long time, because the U.S. market, we don't put any value on longevity. Like, I've never had anybody ask me in my store, will this one or this one last longer? They go, I like this color. I like that shape. Um, no one ever goes, what's the most longevity fish? Like, oh, you could buy this brown log of a fish right here. It'll outlive your whole family and their kids and their kids and their kids. But you'll never want to feed it clean or look at it. So we're all making compromises like that of trying to get the best. What do I like to look at? What do I like to clean? What makes sense for me? What am I attracted to? And with the balloon mollies, honestly, I like that they're smaller. The 40-gallon tank feels so much more spacious for them. Whereas like my other mollies, it's like they're fine. I just feel like, man, I really think they would appreciate a bigger aquarium. And so that's why as I keep pointing down there, they're actually in the. I still like the fish, but I'm like, I think this fish leaves. I don't think this one stays long term. Where balloon mollies, they're definitely staying. Really enjoying them. How's the 800-gallon coming along? Not good. I mean, it looks fine. It actually probably looks clearest water it's ever had. Looks really good. Acrylic's good. The the thing that's really just been putting a monkey wrench in all my plans is I was on vacation, and then I've been working with the retail store, and I'm behind on videos, so I filmed some videos, and part of me is just lazy. Like I'll actually be this week coming up. I'm going to be in Kentucky, and at the warehouse, and so I keep going like I need to order plants. Or like I won't even be here when they arrive, and then that's more work for my wife. Like I've already got some other plants coming for a different video, and she's like, "Well, tell me what tanks to put them in." And like with the 800-gallon, that's a lot of plants that I want to plant. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll delay it another one. And I'm literally thinking like, I really wanted to plant this before I went on vacation. Now we're going to be like 5 weeks. Like I've missed 5 weeks of growing before putting them in. Now I'm going to be putting them in this late, where that does way better for you guys if you're actually watching along. If I filmed a video at week 6, you're like, wow, it's looking pretty good. Right now, if I filmed a video at week 6, you'd be like, did you just plant them yesterday? Like, yeah, actually, I just planted them yesterday. So I'm not in a rush though. That's the big thing is I basically have stopped doing. Well, not that I always did that, but there's always a bit of that. Like I basically stopped doing YouTube for other people, as in the fans, the algorithm, all that kind of stuff. And I do it for me, what I find to be fun. And so I am really wanting to get that thing looking good and planting it and all of that, but I also have work and commitments and things like that. And so I'm hoping in the next couple weeks I'll plant it. I got to drain the water level down and get my air that I want set up. I've got another 8 bags, another 200 pounds of gravel to help me fill in where I want to plant. And I'm still trying to decide between if I want to go very crypt heavy or very sword heavy, and what I really want to do in there yet. So it's like, and these guys are just thriving, but I really I want those plants to grow for like a month or two and just really get seeded well, and then there's other things too. Like we've got some root tab changes that I don't think they're here. Are they? Are these old? No, these are our standard root tabs. But I want to test things out too. So some of it's like waiting on other things, and there's always something to be working on. So, but it's definitely on my short list of. I love to get plants going because time is always marching on. So if I can get them planted today, they will look better in a month. Where if I wait a month and then I plant them, like I've missed a whole month of growth, and that's a bummer for me because I like it's sitting right there. I get to look at it every day, and I go, yeah, it's today of the day. That's why I would tell people don't buy an 800-gallon aquarium. It's so daunting. Of like, okay, I need to order about 300 plants. I think I can get it all done in about 10 hours. I could drain the water, get inside. If I have someone handing me the plants, I could probably get that done in 4 to 6 hours. And it's just a whole like book an entire day at least. And then you've got the follow up next 2 days. Oop, that one came unplanted. This one needs more root tabs. This needs this. And so after about 3 days, I think it would be kind of ready to go. So, but it's definitely on the to-do list. How's the pond doing? Pond's doing well. I was looking at it with the binoculars last night, actually. Had some cool, like, fog going on. How do you get to the store if you're staying in downtown Seattle? Most people Uber it. I don't know how much it costs off the top of my head. Traffic can be a bear, so I would recommend getting there more towards open, which would, depending on which day, might be 11 a.m., and then getting back into Seattle by about 1 p.m. That's depending on the day. Yeah, our expansion's waiting on HVAC permits currently. Yep, the HVAC people have submitted it. It needed revisions. Last communication I got, they're working on the revisions and resubmitting. They're doing the dance that you do with the city. I will say this. I was thinking about this. I was there yesterday. Yeah, I was there yesterday. It's not like we're terrible. There are other projects that have been going just as long in our complex. There's a store, like the convenience store burned down, and it's still plenty far away from reopening, and it's been years like us. So it's not just like, hey, you guys aren't working on it. It's a lot of just like just taking forever, I guess. I can't. Most things in my business, I can just go, let's get it done tomorrow. Like, we'll all work on it. We'll get this done. We'll be done in 2 days. But as far as that goes, I can't, like me, Randy, Zenzo, all the people at retail, we'll all work on it. Let's get it done. That won't do it, unfortunately. So, yeah, we'll get Dean there. We'll get this. We'll crowdsource this thing, get it done. Unfortunately, can't do anything without permits. So there we go. We just wait. It's a big game of hurry up and wait. The only thing I've been doing is I've been telling our employees, like, well, let's work on cleaning and just, let's make sure it's clean, I guess. Like, let's not run down. Let's not cobwebs get everywhere. Like, but outside of that, yeah, we're just waiting. I've got a 75-gallon tank with an angelfish, a blue acara, and a red-tailed shark. What else should I add? Whatever you fall in love with at the pet store. That's the age-old question. I want to know what you like. What I like isn't necessarily what you would like. I sometimes will keep brown fish. Literally, go get yourself some Equus pencil fish, and they're just brown little twigs that stare up like this at the water, and I love them. I love that fish. And it goes 50-50. 50% of the people go, that's amazing. I love that fish too. And the other 50% go like, I wouldn't take that for free, let alone buy it. So visit your pet stores and fall in love with something. That is the hobby. I mean, yeah, you got to clean them, you got to feed them, you got to do all that. But I think people forget that a good portion of the hobby is the hide and seek game of you can order any fish you want online, but you're missing out on the hide and seek. Let me go visit that fish store that's 2 hours away. Let me make a day of it. Let me do this. Let me do that. There is something to that. There is something. And I think you could argue it's the best part of the hobby is meeting the people, doing the travel, going, oh yeah, I had rad pizza while I was over there. And I brought a buddy and all of those things. It seems like Kentucky location was easier to get going than the warehouse location. Is there any reasons why? mostly because it's not a retail space. So different different rules apply, I guess. And then also certain like that building was already run as a warehouse where the expansion that we did was not run as a retail outlet. And then there's other things like setting up 100 aquariums. We pulled it off in a week, plumbing and doing everything, but it's pallet racking. It does not visually look good. Where at the retail store, it is not pallet racking. It is custom made racks. They look amazing, and all of that, and just different standards too. That's honestly like when you work with a city or something, and they go, oh yeah, we put a pallet racking, and they can go, well, what's the specs on the pallet rack? And the pallet rack manufacturer will go, here's all the specs, here's all the earthquake specs, here's all the things, here's all the load rates, here's all the shear volumes, here's all the things, and that's why you would spend big money on pallet racking. Well, when you build it yourself and they go, well, what are all those stats I just asked you? And then you go, oh, well, I get to hire an earthquake engineer to tell you that. And that takes time and money. But we'll have something that, I mean, I personally, like I'm looking at it right now, I personally think that our retail store is one of the best retail stores that I've ever seen looks wise. The expansion. Like, we have spent hundreds of thousands in just effort of research and all that, like time is money type of deal. Like, um, not it's not just like it was expensive, but not hundreds of thousands of dollars of materials, but just in general, the distraction rate of like, okay, we gotta go do that. And if we'd put that energy into being online, that's where we would have made more money. But it will be something cool. I am excited for it. I wish it was here a year ago. That's all. Does the random selection of mystery plant box include tissue cultures? It does not. Nope. No tissue cultures. Any recommendations for a smooth downsizing in a fish room that's heavily planted? Should I move fish or plants first? Well, it depends if you're keeping them. I usually do a bunch of fish all at once. I just go like, okay, I'm going to move 10 buckets of fish to the fish store. But if it's far away, I also might do like, okay, there's 10 buckets of fish and 5 buckets of plants. But in general, I try to get fish into buckets with air stones going. And I use battery-powered air pumps. I just hook it on the bucket. And so, by the way, people always ask, why does it hang this way? Like, the air is going to come from the bottom and the bucket goes up top. Well, if you had it hung like this and you bring it over, most times the airline tubing just crimps. So when you put it this way, you get this big loop. And if you've ever really worked with stuff, like a big loop typically doesn't kink as easily. So that's why you can hang it on either the rim of the bucket, or you can hang it on the handle, like the metal piece. And then you put it so that the rubber feet are against the bucket, so it doesn't make horrible sounds. But yeah, so a lot of times it's fish only first, and then I'll come around with a round of plants. But it really is going to matter. Are you keeping some of it? Are you just moving it? Is it like I'm trying to get 10 tanks to live in 5 tanks? Like, not really sure what all you're trying to accomplish there. And sometimes it could be as easy as just pick 1 tank at a time and tear it down. Like, yep. And that's kind of what I've working on, is like I'm starting the opposite. Like, I kind of tore a bunch down, and now I'm starting with get 1 tank set up, get the next tank set up, get the next tank set up. And then I'll have all the leftovers of, like, there's a tank filled with Anubias. If I don't use it by the time I get to my cutoff, they'll go to the store. Let's see. Excellent stream. 2 out of 5 stars. That's right. Could always be worse. Are auto sinklets good for hair algae? In general, no. Or what would I recommend in a 320 liter Tetras and Angels currently? If it was me and I've got like hair algae and staghorn algae right there. If If you're asking me what would I do, I would get long fin rosy barbs. That's what I will be doing. So that's the easiest recommendation when you recommend the thing that I literally am about to do. Now there's other things, Siamese alligators, flagfish. I have those in my fish room too, but I love the look of rosy barbs, both male and female. I've got a pair of angels in a 29-gallon community. The female gets crazy aggressive to the male during spawning. About to upgrade to a 75. Should I add more to spread the aggression? Nope. I wouldn't. Think of it like you have a two kids that are 12 and they're fighting like cats and dogs nonstop. Should you add two more kids to that mix? Like, probably not. Like, that's just going to be more to handle. How I would actually fix that, Natalie, is I would turn the temperature down. Fish only breed in certain temperatures, and so most often I find people like, oh yeah, I'm somewhere between 78 and 80. Turn them down to like 73, and you're like, oh man, they only spawn during the summer. Like, angelfish are enjoyable again. My whole fish room basically runs somewhere between 72 and 78. This actually is at 78 because, one, clown loaches would prefer it to be like 80 something, but I'm testing that heater, which, by the way, I wouldn't recommend it. But everything else runs room temp, and I run the room at it's 74 degrees in here right now, which usually makes the tanks run 73-ish. Just depends. I need some help with snails. The assassin snails won't work. KH is too low for them. That doesn't make sense to me. KH should have no effect on snails, basically. Now, you could say pH is too low, or GH is too low. Either one of those I can understand, but the buffering capacity shouldn't have an effect. Hardness or pH has much more effect in my experience. I would tell you either A, bring that pH and hardness down so low that all snails are going to die, if your fish are going to tolerate that, or B, buffer it up and let those assassins go to work. That's probably what I would do. Assassin snails are cool. Puffers work. Yep, you could get pea puffers or something like that too. I'll tell you what didn't work for me: bleach. Literally, glug, 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 a bleach did not kill some of the lady trumpet snails. I still cannot believe it. Is it true plants help clean bacteria from aquarium water? I don't have that answer. That doesn't seem likely to me, but I also there's all the stuff in the world that doesn't seem likely. That just because someone like me doesn't think it's likely has no scientific basis. So, for instance, like I was actually doing reading about Windex yesterday because I've read about it several times, and there's tons of people that will use Windex, and I've used it before, and it's no problem on my tanks. And then there's people that are like, oh, it's gonna kill everything because it's got ammonia in it, right? And I want the tank fronts at the store to be cleaner and easier. And so I basically just want to use Windex. I'm probably going to use vinegar, but I want to use Windex. But I want to equip the staff with the knowledge on, instead of like, yeah, it's just not a problem, don't worry about it when the customers see us doing it, to explain why. And some saltwater forums, I think, did a pretty good job of it, of ammonia-based Windex is basically not much of an issue for your aquariums, because the other things that are in it aren't in it that much potency, and you're going to try not to get it in there to begin with. But everyone always cites the ammonia, like I wouldn't use the ammonia, and I think they're right in that that's the last thing you need to worry about. Every aquarium is an ammonia processing machine. So the actual ammonia part of it, not too scary. Bacteria will deal with that, plants will deal with that, algae will deal with that all day long. It would purely be the surfactants and other things that are in there in small quantities, but then, and I'm not telling you to go use Windex because that's not my specialty, but I'm sure there's big differences between Windex on my 800-gallon or my 1-gallon nano that I don't own, but like you put 10 squirts into that, straight into it, I'm sure that's going to kill fish. You spray a little bit on a rag next to a tank and then clean it. In my experience in the retail store, that does just fine. So, my store uses RO water in a bucket and a $3 squeegee. Use the wipe side on the squeegee and squeegee clean. It's so easy and works so well. No streaks at all. Yeah, that does work. But what do you like? In specifically, what we needed to clean this was snot and applesauce. A parent was like, "Yeah, just paint the store in your snot." There's lips on the aquarium. There's snot runs from the nose on the windows and the aquarium, and the applesauce squeezy packet everywhere. And so, yes, there are different tools for the job. RO water does amazing at kind of getting salt water off of stuff. Vinegar breaks down hard water really well. And then there's just that's little kid grunge throughout the whole bottom row of the store because they were running up and down with their snot fingers and, kind of like, and then just running down, losing their mind while the parents are trying to buy some stuff. So, yeah. So we're trying to figure out, we obviously we clean glass all day long every day, but how do we handle the different things of like, yeah, one's a little more than just Fritz glass cleaner or something else. That's sometimes you gotta like use a razor blade and like chisel the crunchy stuff off, and then you get to polish the glass. So, hey, 15 years in retail, that happens. I want to say twice a week. There is a kid that all of the kid juices are now spread throughout the store on all the tanks. So you kind of just do the we're gonna wipe all those down. Yep, that's gonna be an hour of work. All right, thanks for that. So. And not all kids are like that, by the way. Not all parents are like that. It is the minority. Like we have kids in our store every day, all day long. It is by far the minority, and it is just a thing. We, just wanna do it. That ammonia in Windex isn't the same as normal ammonia. See, this is why I don't even want to talk about it. You'd have to specify which specific Windex. There is a bunch of them. There are ones with fragrances, ones without. There's one for industrial use. I specifically was looking at industrial use, 1 gallon refillable things with certain compounds. And this is exactly why I probably won't even use Windex in the store, just because people will be like, actually, and it's like, okay, yep. I don't even know how many different versions of Windex there are. Let me look on just Amazon. Because they make Windex with vinegar in it now, which still has surfactants and stuff in it. So they have the original. They have multi-glass surface. They have, let's see here. They've got multi-surface citrus. They've got ammonia-free Windex. They've got, what's this one? Unscented Windex. They've got this one is just original blue Windex. This is again the ammonia-free one. There's the vinegar one. A multi-stage Windex. Then there's all the wipes too. I was actually looking for the wipes first. That was what actually started this. Was there a decent glass wipe to deal with applesauce tanks basically? And then it led to here's Powerized formula in a 5-gallon bag dispenser. This one, Windex Professional. And then, there's still, here's some more. Windex Foaming. Windex Electronic Wipes. And part of this was like the electronic wipes. How much alcohol is in it? Because alcohol typically is what I use to clean the backs of aquariums before I paint them, and evaporates super quick. And that's a feature we want in a fish store. So kid goes down, up and down. If you can get it to evaporate really quickly, when you have to catch fish out of that tank, the water doesn't mix and just leave new spots. Like it'll run off the glass. So the sooner it can dry, so more ammonia. Here's Windex Disinfectant and Multi-Surface. So there's, and that's just on Amazon. There is so many versions that, a big company like Windex, which is Johnson and Johnson or something. I think they've basically made a version for like everything out there, and then it's just purely can you get the right one and not get the wrong one. So, but yeah, right now my main plan is actually 50% vinegar, white vinegar distilled, and 50% water. Is yeah, is the current battle plan. We'll see. The other problem, so in that instance, right? You got the kid applesauce fiasco. Vinegar is an amazing cleaner, but then vinegar, when you have a store full of people, they're, oh, smell like vinegar in here, right? So it's like, oh, that it'd be fine if we do that before we close. So, you know, in retail, when everything is related to money, you got to find just the right thing. Like, and eventually it'll be like, Corey, you spent 7 months of your life figuring out the two different, glass cleaners for your store. Like, yeah, I did. We're at that level apparently. Like, I never thought. I use isopropyl alcohol on a towel to clean the tank fronts. I've done that as well. And when you have 10 employees and their fingers are cracking from using too much alcohol, you'll have to go, And then you also have to look into like, is that OSHA safe? Is it this safe? Is it this safe? Is it that safe? So yeah, it gets into this, like, so, there's all these things, like, is it worker safe? Is it fish safe? Is it safe that you'll actually still make money? Like, if it smells terrible. You also have, like, the reason they make Windex free or fragrance free is because in offices and retail, like, too strong of fragrances makes people not feel good. And so, yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, you could use vinegar. Like, oh, it's got the smell with it. So I don't know exactly what we're going to do, but I do know, yeah, we need to fix it. Spray it on a rag. Nobody needs to know what you're using. That's not how retail works. You can't have a crew of a bunch of people and then be like, just make sure the public never sees it. They'll see it. Like, someone will pull it out and they're like, oh, I got to clean 30 tanks. That's why I'm spraying it. I'm doing it. You can put it into, the more you try and hide something in a retail store, the more it just becomes a thing. Like, well, why are we putting it in a bottle that is, translucent? You can't see what's in it. And then people will be like, what are you using? And there's going to be like, Windex. Yeah, but we're not allowed to tell you. It's like, now it becomes this big cover up when it's like, no, actually, it's fine. You could tell them use Windex, but, then you got to have a long conversation. Yeah, vinegar and water mix is safer bet in general. If it was only safety that was the thing, then I would agree. But again, smell, you have cost, you have cleaning power. There's also something to be said for Windex. A lot of people will be like, ooh, that makes it smell clean. There's some fish stores where anything smelling better than mildew would be an upgrade. Luckily, we don't seem to have that problem, but yeah, there will be, like, there's some people that only use a spray glass cleaner that does really well, but again, we'll get there. We'll get there eventually, right? Put bleach in a bottle, yeah. Or put it in a bleach bottle. The problem is you can just use Windex, and even if it's fine, you'll literally get people that like, yeah, I saw you use Windex, so I used 409 that killed everything. Like, yeah, we don't recommend that. We weren't doing that. Like, no, you guys are using 409. Like, no, we weren't. We don't have any 409 here. And like, no, I saw your employees doing it. Like, no, you didn't. We don't have it. And they will like swear that they did because they won't want to admit that like they misremembered or missaw. And so that's one of the reasons why we do use like Fritz. Oh, I think, do I have some right here? No, I'm terrible at my job. I don't have any here. The Fritz glass cleaner. I've got it over there. It's amazing because it doesn't have any of those problems really. And it can't really do any harm. But when you've got, the 2-year-old Cheeto Finger madman in the store, you start going through that stuff wicked quick and it gets expensive. Where if you buy in bulk some kind of cleaner, you can save a lot of money. And as we already said, we don't want to bring it from 60,000 to 61,000 because I got too many applesauce kids in the store. Next product release, Easy Glass Cleaner. I actually worked on that. So I worked on. I was testing Fritz. Fritz is out very early, and then I don't think they ever released it, but I was testing. Hikari was doing it too. I don't think they ever released it though. But yeah, I was testing it, and I know way too much about it actually. Like if I remember right, and someone in the chat will correct me because they were probably reading this like yesterday. The reason why newspaper works so well when you're cleaning windows is the same reason the Fritz glass cleaner and other products like that work. It fills in the holes. So when you're using newspaper, the ink fills any of the micro holes in the glass, and it makes it a much clearer shine. The problem with those, with all products that fill in that stuff, it technically attracts more dust and stuff than without it, because now there's some kind of product there, and it will just, you start getting down to like ion level, like positive, negative ion charges and stuff. But yeah, so that's why newspaper seemingly works so much better than a paper towel, is because it's actually filling in all the micro abrasions on glass. And also over the years, it was free. Everybody had newspaper. It's not so much anymore. And not all inks are the same, and not all newspapers are the same thickness and all of that these days. But yeah, so you can geek out on anything in the world. If if you're into it, you can geek out on it way too far down the road. Top selling fish in Aquariumcoop currently? Yeah, there's been a little bit of a shake up there. Let me tell you. I'll run a report for you guys here. Retail sales in the last 30 days. Let's go to most sold. The most sold would be cherry shrimp, followed by cardinal tetra, followed by chili rasbora, followed by a mono shrimp. If we go like a year ago, let me just pick a random. Let me pick last July. We'll see what sold there. It was cherry shrimp, cardinal tetras, a mono shrimp, blue velvet shrimp, then chili rasboras, then green neon tetras. And you would say like, wow, what's different? The employees preferences. You can definitely just have someone like, oh, they just discovered this fish, they love it, they sell it all week or all month long, and it's your number one seller. And then they're like, but then I found the new bright shiny fish, and then the next month they sell the most of that one. So yeah, it's interesting to watch things just go through the cycles. I'm thinking about opening a store. Any advice or lessons learned from my own experiences? Yeah, there's a video to answer the Duke. It is by number sold, not by money sold on that sorting. But I have a video on what it was like opening my fish store where I show my actual numbers and all of that. And in general, I recommend go run someone else's store as a manager for a couple years before you open your own. And I've had what I consider hilarious feedback. When I used to offer consulting, where it was like $150 for 30 minutes, I had to have people in your situation. They would hire me for the $150, and I would have this conversation with them. And one guy literally said, I can't afford to live off of working if I go work for someone else's fish store, I'm only going to make $12 an hour. And I told them, then there is zero chance you will make it in your fish store. Like, you're not just going to open it up and pay yourself a rad salary. That's not how this business works. Like, that'd be like winning the lotto. So if you can't make your life work on the 12 or 13 bucks an hour working at another fish store at the time, this is probably 5 years ago, so pay range was different in the world. If you can't make that happen, you're not going to be able to make it happen you have loans to pay and all, because this person was taking out loans to launch the fish store. I'm like, it's just not gonna work for you. And they ended up actually never getting into it, which is good. So it's probably the best $150 they ever spent to prevent that. But if you can't afford to work at a fish store for a couple years, you can't afford to open your own fish store. My first year, I made zero. My wife 100% supported us. In year 2, I made $500 a month. Now, you're going, well, that's not how much per hour. Like, well, yeah, I had to work insane hours. It was bare minimum in year 2. It was 7 days a week we were open because I had to maximize the amount of money we could make. And we were open 8 hours. So the bare minimum, if you don't include drive time or anything, is 7 times 8, which is 56, right? I actually had a 45-minute drive each way. So we actually have to add another 10 and a half hours. And then if you add on ordering and taxes, which on average was about an hour a day, so another 7 hours. So $500 a month to work 73.5 hours a week. That's what got me to here, obviously, right? Like, because it's not just people think like, hey, just order it. Like, yes, but your person you normally order it from is out. You can choose to just not make money that week, or you can find a new source. And then, it's kind of like, shopping for your family. You need to buy food. Well, if your life depends on it, you want to make sure your money's going the furthest it can. What do you mean that the grocery store I always go out to is out of milk and rice and another critical and butter? You have to go find another source. And so that hour each day was that. And then also like, okay, making sure ducks in a row for taxes and everything. So those two. And then with that hour every day includes the submitting, like, oh, I got to get my reseller's permit submitted here so I can open up an account. So a lot of it was I found another source. I submit all my information. I sign all the paperwork. I do the personal guarantees. And then you see the price and you go, this price is even worse. Okay, moving on. Like all that work meant nothing. But every fifth one, like, hey, I actually found a new vendor. When it came to fish, like, ooh, I like their prices. Then you order them and you're like, with the fish quality, they're tiny, they're underfed, they're sick or whatever. And so a lot of work was done. And eventually, by making those more and more efficient every week, you go, okay, I can afford to pay myself some actual money. And I think by I think it was year 3. I think by year 3, I had gotten good enough. And this was after running someone else's store for 5 years. So I already had the run up of, I knew who I was ordering fish from. I knew who I was ordering dry goods from. I still had to establish myself with them to get the better deals and stuff. But by year 3, I think it was 38,000 or 40,000. I have to look at my tax records. And that's actually what led me to go on YouTube and everything was I was putting in even more hours. It was because the store was busier, right? You make more money, but the store gets busier. You're working even longer hours. And it made no sense to work that hard, at 75 hours a week for $38,000 basically. And you're self-employed. So you've got tax, like the taxing is nutty, and all of that, where you could mostly just like I think when I remember sitting on the couch with Sassy and my wife, and I told her I was going all into YouTube because the alternative was I could go make $40,000 a year working at like a Petco. I could be a Petco fish manager. Maybe I could work my way up and be, a district manager or something. But I could go work for somebody else and make 40 grand at 40 to 50 hours a week, and actually have a life. Or I need to go all the way into this, and we need to get this to, if I'm working, basically if you're working 75 hours a week, you got to be making like 75 grand a year. Like otherwise you're making a horrible trade. So luckily YouTube ended up panning out as we are here today. So being that happened, I didn't have to just go work at a Petco or something. And I'm not saying just, like, there are plenty of days in my life where I dream of, I can almost not even imagine what it's like anymore to like clock out from work when I worked at 9 to 5 jobs. And it's like, I literally clocked out and didn't think about work till the next day. And I clocked out and then I had 2 days off and didn't think of it till 8 a.m. that day again. It's always on my mind. Like even while I was live streaming, like I've always had managers checking in. We're multi-time zoned. So there's always something going on. I'll wake up to like, okay, big things going on over at the warehouse. And then, it's right now the retail store's still open. So there could still be like, oh, this thing's going on. This customer's irate right now. What should we do? So yeah, very tough business to be in. 5 years of working for free if you're lucky. I wouldn't say it's if you're lucky. I think I do believe it's fairly, I'm going to call it easy to go work for somebody else's business and earn your $12 to $20 an hour and get a good barometer on, is this the career for me, while remembering everything you think your boss is an idiot for, and is probably true, by the way. There are equally as many things that you have no idea that they're actually handling yet. That was the biggest surprise for me. Even though I ran a store for 5 years, there were still things that I had never done that the owner was actually handling. Now, it wasn't that much and I was able to do it, but there was still like, I had the mentality of like, man, this guy's not really doing much. But there was like, oh yeah, there is still quite a bit to do when it comes to tax time and when it comes to negotiating rent renewals and all of these different factors that I didn't negotiate the rent. I didn't meet with tax accountants. Like the way we are right now, I actually file tax returns in 5 different states. Like it is tax, it's not just pay my taxes anymore. It is tax season for me. It becomes, I have to pay California 4 times a year. I have to pay Colorado and I think it's Ohio and Idaho, and yeah, maybe is that, I don't know if that's 5 yet, but it grows every year. So it's, that part was not ingrained in me when I was running a store, because an entity above me handled that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think of it like you want to open up a store, and think of it like going to college, which that gets a horrible negative connotation. So, but put that aside. You can pay to go learn at a college or something like that, or you can go work at someone else's fish store and they will pay you to learn. Literally, you can come work for me. Come work and be the rock star employee, work your way all the way up to being a manager, and then you could still choose to go run your own store someday. And I will have paid you to learn all of that. And if you choose to leave, by the way, that's because I haven't retained you, right? Like when I was running the store, I made $12 an hour, and I would have never been able to live a life that way. So that's why I opened my own store. So I went from making $12 an hour, running a store at the 5-year mark, to the next year made nothing, literally nothing. Lived off my wife's income. She was a manager at a bakery at the time. Then that next year made $500 a month, so I could at least contribute my half, because she was just my girlfriend. That was my half of the rent, was $500. I was like, the year 2, I have to at least be able to pay half of the rent at home. That doesn't include groceries, nothing. That's just half of rent. Yeah. So, but the fact that you can get somebody else to pay for your training, basically, and it might be bad training, they might not be very good, but you can figure that out getting paid for someone else. Now, it's not nefarious. You're going to do a great job. Learn how to do rad customer service. Learn how to keep fish really healthy. Learn how to sell really well. Do everything they want you to do to the best. And all of those skills are now yours. And you got paid to learn them. And then you can go and open up your own store, and then you'll be able to test yourself. That's really the test. You've learned all the skills. Now you can put it to the test if you want to. Or hopefully the people you work for, maybe they go, wow, you are super good. You basically run this by yourself. We should keep giving you more money, and we should keep expanding, and we should keep doing stuff. And that would be a win. You wouldn't even have to put up your own money to open up a new store. You could just run theirs, and maybe they see the value in it. Maybe they don't, and maybe you do your own thing, but that's what I would do. Yeah, plus you get an employee discount. That's right. Yeah. Lefty says, like an old boss of mine said, once I train you, I have to pay to keep you. That's a very wise statement, honestly. Yeah. There's a lot of value in having a job you don't have to care about when you're off the clock. Yes, I did not know that before I had a job like this. I was definitely in the camp of the grass is always greener. Like, oh, that job would be so nice. Oh, that one would be so nice. It'd be nice to make more money. It'd be nice for this. Just like a lot of people might think like, oh, it's rad to travel around the world. It's like, until you do, and then you're like, you have a year. Like Zenzo used to have, he would get something like 100 plus flights in a year. That's on a plane one out every 3 days. Like, and when you actually have lived something even close to that, you go, this is not my preference. Now you do it for money and you do it for career and you do it for all that kind of stuff, but um, you know, make sure you're good at running a fish store before you open your own. That's the good advice there. Make sure you're good at it, because keeping a fish tank at home not the same as dealing with you know, Cheeto finger kids and cleaning and finding out the best Windex. Let's see here. How's Randy? We haven't seen him in a video for a while. Is he hiding? Right, he's hiding. He'll probably be in a video I film this week because I'll be at the warehouse, and him and Zenzo and I will be there. And I'll probably film something just to like a lot to see at the warehouse, so he'll probably be in it. But yeah, he lives in, you know, Kentucky, running the warehouse, and so being that we've known about this transition for so long, like he hasn't built a giant fish room knowing like we need to move the company somewhere. We need to do these things. And so he has a couple of aquariums in his house, but even right now he's moving. Like he lives in Kentucky, but anyway, no tanks. I don't think any tanks are set up currently in his home. So there's nothing really to go film. And then it doesn't make sense like, just hop on a flight and come out here. We'll do a video. Let's spend a few $1,000s to make a YouTube video. That doesn't make sense. So that's why I'm not seeing him very much, honestly. Yeah, that is true. Zenzo literally is a 1,000,000-mile flyer. He got the, I think it's with not South, is it Southwest? No, United. He's got the 1,000,000 miles United. So he's got like, you know, the coin and the super cool street cred and all that, which I'm sure some people in chat, I shouldn't say I'm sure, but other people do it too. If you have to fly for work a lot, it kind of becomes an autopilot thing. I'm like, yep, you're going to get that. Like, and it's, while cool, not the coolest badge of honor. Like, yep, I've lived in a hotel for the last 7 years. It's been crazy. I miss the Randy's fish unboxings. Yeah. Direct flight, are you making stops? Yeah, there's no direct flight between here and Lexington, unfortunately. I have to have a layover. I think it's in Atlanta. I don't know. I haven't. I just get on the plane. I go where they tell me to go. That's really what happens. Your next stop, go to this gate. Okay, I'm going. Hopefully, I have enough time. Let's see here. Can't find the questions. Can I use an undergravel filter for a 135-gallon Mabuna tank? I'm going to say yes, asterisks. Mabunas dig a lot, but if this was all undergravel filter, they might dig there and there, but the reality is it'll probably still work. The thicker you put the gravel, actually, the more likely it'll be not an issue, as in they won't create a bare spot on the plate, and then it's just sucking all the water through there and not sucking it through gravel. I actually would almost argue in a long enough, with enough studying, something like Mabuna might be better, just because they're constantly digging. They're going to make sure that nothing ever compacts in that under gravel. So with enough isolation, enough uplift tubes, you probably would just have a pretty darn efficient system. Let's see here. I don't know what the back and forth between Candy and other people are. Oh, maybe it's who is my favorite fish keeper or YouTuber? Favorite fish keeper, huh? Trying to think. I think my fish keeping hero is Dean. I think that's true. Because he was my fish keeping hero before we ever like worked together on like YouTube videos and stuff. And it's mostly, I love that Dean is unapologetically like just into fish. He wants to breed them. He's got his small room. He's always talking to me about fish. And it's kind of just, it's infectious. My favorite YouTuber, probably not a fish person. Let me see. Let me see. Let me look at my like subscriptions or something and just see like who am I actually watching when they put out a video? Like who am I actually excited to watch? Which there's not a lot. I kind of hunt and peck a lot when it comes to YouTube videos. I'm trying to think if there's someone that hmm. I think the only it's almost sad how little YouTube I'm watching. I would say the two channels that are actually getting watched maybe once a week, maybe, is probably like Philip DeFranco, just because I'm like wanting to keep up on YouTube news, and then Mogul Mail, Ludwig. I don't watch his gaming stuff, but the Mogul Mail, I'll watch just for the YouTube drama. Not because I'm like super into YouTube drama, I'm not, but mostly like just wanting to see how the algorithm, not algorithm, but how the platforms are changing and evolving, and the different stuff going on, which yeah, I'm not, I don't like the drama part of it, but I find it fascinating to look behind the scenes, like what's actually going on with, there's lots of drama, but what is the channel doing? Are they actually losing subscribers? Are they losing views? Is this going on? Or is this just that, and he makes his videos quick enough that I can watch it while ordering fish or something. So, let's see. You got me on Keeping Fish Simple. It's great. Yeah, I would say I just don't watch fish YouTubers because I have to make fish video. My logic in my brain is literally if I have time to watch someone about fish, I should be making a fish video because I don't have time in the day. So I will listen to them every once in a while, but mostly I'd rather be cleaning my aquariums or doing something than watching someone else. Let's see here. Every unboxing, the thing to see was how far the rubber bands would fly. That's true. Numeral Tuno. It's been many years since I said Numeral Tuno, honestly. I almost filmed unboxing, what's today? Monday. No, is it Monday? Was it this Monday or last Monday? Anyway, I think it was this Monday. But instead I wanted to teach the staff a bunch. So I was always like, okay, is this a teaching moment or is this a filming moment? Is this moment? I brought the filming stuff and I realized this is a teaching day, so no filming today. And it's not that it couldn't be done. It's like it already took 4 hours to undo or to do the unboxing, like as in to actually work the fish and do the thing. And it didn't make sense to make that a 6 hour project. So we stuck to the 4 hour version of it where don't have to re-say things, don't have to be quiet for the camera, don't have to do this, like just got to get it done. Let's see here. Other YouTubers that I watch, I'm trying to think. I watch some of Adam Savage's stuff. I like his style. So I'm not actually that interested in what he's presenting on. I'm mostly studying the way he does YouTube, which is a different, most people aren't doing that. I do that a lot. So the stuff I watch is not so much what they're talking about. It's about how they're presenting, how the audience is reacting. What do I think about that? Is this a decent channel strategy? Kind of weird. Have I started Elden Ring yet, or do I know that the DLC is out? All my gamer nerd buddies definitely played Elden Ring. I think the last DLC they were pretty disappointed about. I haven't played a lick of Elden Ring at all. I honestly I want to have time for video games. I don't. Jerry Rig Everything. That guy seems interesting. I watched a couple of his videos, especially was it the D brand skin, or maybe it wasn't D brand, but one of the whoever copied his phone case and like they literally like scanned his case and reprinted it, and that's why it was wrong. Like that's how they figured it out. Like because the copy was like so intentional, like even the mistakes were copied. Watching YouTube to learn. YouTube is meta. I mean, it kind of is. Um, I find it hard to watch myself, which is the best thing I could be doing, because like the best way to make this live stream better is to watch it and go, that's what I should have done. Should have had that prop ready. Should have done this. I go back and forth on like, do I turn that aquarium out so that this one's a little bit brighter? Should I, like literally before I went live, I go, do I crop? Do I crop it so they don't see the algae so that way people don't judge me in the comments? Like, I don't know. And then I go, you know what? No, I try to be as real as possible. They're gonna see my algae, so that way they'll appreciate when I put the rosy barbs. I'm literally gonna take that and put it in a different tank with rosy barbs. Let them clean it, film it, and then I'll put it back there, and you'll see the thing. But yeah, watching because I'm looking at what they're doing for lighting. I'm looking at what they're doing for sound. It goes down to, do I like the microphone in front of the face look? I own all those microphones, or do I prefer the shotgun mic just out of your camera view angle? I prefer that. Mostly because it allows me to have my hands free and show you guys stuff and go, hey, look at this air pump, and not like, hold on, let me move this. And there's a lot less proximity, so I don't have to be right on the mic so you can hear it. And then like, oh, I can't hear it. It's mostly capturing all of it. And a lot of people ask me what camera I use and stuff. And honestly, I'm using last year's iPhone. This is last year's iPhone, even though I've got $5,000 cameras and everything. It's just simple. And part of it is I used to do big production, used to have thousands of dollars of lights. This is literally like, I don't know, $4 in light and a skylight. Like, it's nothing intentional is going on. You can actually see that up top it's way too bright, and it's on a list of 100 things at about 99 to go, that's a little too bright up there. So if I actually move this up, you can see like, oh yeah, there's little shelves up there and I don't even have product, and yeah, there's vines, but it's actually too bright and I need to diffuse the light more. And you can see over here this vine's a little scraggly. I don't like that. But I need a setup that can work. I had whether it's live streaming with, see now my camera, you can see if you look at the top board, you see this top board right here. Now that I've moved it, you could tell that it's off because it gets skinnier. So now I gotta this will drive me nuts. I gotta, almost a little bit more. No, that's a little bit too much. Oh, it's gonna drive me nuts all day. That'll have to be good enough. So, okay. Yeah, so anyway, I needed to work because I had meetings with, I took a couple hour meeting with Fluval this week, and then I had meetings with different teams at my company, and then you've got to, film a video. I filmed a video on breeding fish and plants as like an actual business side hustle, where previously I'd always done them on like as for fun and profit a little bit, like to supplement a hobby. And this was much more like, if you wanted to actually make a business, this is how I would be doing it. And we've got, been quite a few people that have actually made it a business now, kind of following what we've been doing. So, does a dual air pump run 2 sponge filters? Yes, it does. Got 2 outlets. Boom. Can run 2. Is everyone live, or did you buy them? Like these plants? These are all live plants. Yeah, they're all live. If that's what you're asking, maybe. Thanks for the videos. I always enjoy your videos. Good for you guys for pushing business to the next level. How about those growing pains? Yeah. There's definitely a boom bust cycles of like, I just need to stop growing like this. Why every day, do I wake up and make this harder? And then you'll do the thing and then you're super proud of it. And then you're like, well, what else could we do? And so, yeah, it's definitely, can be very rewarding. The highs are high and the lows are low, and the challenges and the stress can be brutal, and then also can be great. So the lighting is working or maturing your hair color. That's right. My camera is a OnePlus 6. It's got to be 5 years old now. Yeah, I actually learned. What I like is I can take an iPhone and I can do a live stream from somewhere else, and cameras, when you buy a $5,000 camera, every day they start aging. They're still amazingly good, but you run into software glitches and overheating, and this thing's not wanting to play with this right now. Where when I just have my iPhones, I basically have built an empire on iPhones. That's why I'm kind of a fanboy. Like this little mini is actually my favorite iPhone, by the way. If they put out another mini, if they made a mini Pro, I would buy it no matter how much it costs, even if it's like $5,000. Like the amount of business and life I can run on this tiny phone is mind blowing to me. I actually now all I use it for is underwater filming. Nice and small, can get it into small aquariums, taking it to Peru, taking it to Germany, get it underwater, taking it to wholesalers where you got to get it in there. It's light, which is super nice when you're filming for many, many hours over the day. Where like now I don't even run, when I buy the Pros, I don't even buy the Pro Maxes or whatever. It's like I have this behemoth now, which I hate it. Like it doesn't seem like it's that much more, but it's like 30% heavier. Yeah, when you put it like this. But all these, so I typically run on a 3-year iPhone cycle. I got the main one that I'm filming my videos with, you guys watch. I've got the next oldest one as my webcam, and then the third oldest one becomes the, so like this is the 12, that's the 13, this is the 14, and this one becomes the water one. And it allows me so that I can sync up all the videos when I'm in Peru. I can have multiple backups, and I can also back it up. Like here's an iPad. Here's an iPad mini. This iPad mini is actually going to the store to run the Casa Wi-Fi timers and the water change systems and all of that. And I'm just setting it up and getting it ready for the quarantine room. But in general, I love being able to just airdrop files, and it just works. And that's been the biggest things lately. You haven't really seen too many times we're like, oh, the hamsters, where's the hamster emojis? Like they're not working. Because I got rid of the big fancy stuff. Like I just need it to work. And that's what, by using one ecosystem for everything I do, it works. And I can easily on the go, like, yep, I've got AirPods. So I wear AirPods if I'm in a meeting with somebody. That'll work. If I'm filming outside somewhere it's loud, this will work. So, yeah, it's worked out well for me. Is Fluval tripping? Fluval is always tripping. I don't know if I've said it to their face yet. I definitely could have. Like, because I will say I love and hate Fluval. Like they've got some rad products. They've also got some stuff about their company. It's probably like what you guys feel. Like there's probably stuff you love about us, and then they're like, yeah, but I hate that thing. Like Corey does XYZ. Like, yeah, that's, you get a full package when you work or interact with anybody on the planet. There's always like, I love that. I'd do without that. Corey's tripping. So, yeah, don't ask me for directions. I can't. I have to, like, I actually have a rope between here and the house, and I got to follow it. Like when you're in a blizzard or something, even though it's like sunny out today, like directions are terrible. If my phone doesn't tell me how to get there, I will never get there. And it's not always that way. It's that it drives my wife nuts. I'm always thinking about business or seeing something like, yeah, maybe that is the next thing about the air pump or that. And I'll literally, I autopilot. So there's just times when I'm like, I just pulled off to go to the store. We were going to the airport. Let me get back on the freeway. Like, because it's like, oh yeah, for 7 years of my life, every day was just take this exit and it's on the way to the airport. So, yeah, my husband get lost in a clear plastic bag. Me too. Me too. I've got my paths that I like to take. I don't like to deviate. My wife will love to look up, we need to go here. There's 3 routes. These are the different times it would take to get there. And I take the same route every time because it's like, well, if I go a path I don't know, I have to think about it. If it's an hour to get there, that's an hour of business thinking I can pull off while driving. I will do that. I also never drive with the radio on. Blows everybody's minds and drives everybody nuts. But to me, I'm wasting an hour if I have the radio on. All right. Yeah, you guys did a pretty good job buying us out of plants and stuff last week. You managed to break our app. In fact, I'm gonna check on it right now. You bought so many plants that it was a domino effect on our mystery plant thing, and people started, like, at the end of it, it was just giving people like, you get 6 pogo, because we had sold down so much. So like 27 people or something like that got gift cards to order new plants. They got to keep those plants, and we reconfigured some stuff to hopefully make sure that can't happen again. But I'm watching it because if you guys buy all our plants again, it could. And so I want to make sure that I'm keeping ahead of it and I can shut it down before we got to lose a bunch of money on gift cards again, which is awesome for you guys, not as awesome for us. Mystery bundle. Make sure it's still, let's see, the last person to buy one was, and they live at, no, I'm just kidding. Let's see, oh, that's a mystery sticker bundle, not the mystery plant bundle. All right, mystery plant bundle. Here's what they got. I won't tell you who. They're a first-time customer, though. That's awesome. They, in their mystery box, they're getting a Crypt Red Wendetti, a Cryptocorn Tropica, a Cryptocorn Lutea, a Pogostem Stellatus Octopus, a Red Flame Sword, and a Java Moss. Nice. All easy to grow. Just so happens to be the mix. What the person before them get? They got, in their mix, they got a Cryptocorn Tropica, an Ocelot Sword, a Red Dwarf Aquarium Lily, a Dwarf Chain Sword, a Pogostem Stellatus Octopus, and a Java Moss. There you go. Alrighty. Yeah, the one person bought 2 packs and it gave them 12 pogos. So they've got an army of Pogostem Stellatus Octopus and $100 in gift cards to actually order plants where it will either be randomized or what they want. So unfortunately, sometimes apps break, but hey, we will make it right. Oh, and by the way, we sent all these out before people got them. So as Regina says, imagine someone opening that box. We didn't like wait for people to complain. I try to pride ourselves on that. We don't want to make it where you have to come and complain. If we notice a mistake, let's beat you to it. Like, hey, here's a gift card. We made a mistake. You'll get that in a day or two. That's a bummer, but that's our bad. And by the way, we gave them $50 gift cards, even though the plant pack's only $40, because I didn't want the next thing of like, well, then some people would complain like, yeah, I can't just order another one though because free shipping's at $50. So we gave you more than it even cost you, and that's our bad. We'll learn from it. We put in some safeguards, hopefully. I just want to make sure that, we don't find a new way to break it. You have an app? Oh, we've got apps. We just don't have apps for the public. So we have apps running, custom apps in the background that we work with developers, and I was working with a different developer and they're like, why don't you sell this? And I was like, well, you have to maintain it. It's like hard enough to maintain our own app to make it do what we want to do and be super robust. You start putting other businesses behind it and, can you make this app do this little thing I don't need to do? No, it only does what we need it to do. That's all. Let's see. I'm selling orange flash apistos to a local fish. Where'd it go? Jumped off my screen, but someone's selling orange flash apistos to a local fish store. What should you sell them for? Well, I always start all my pricing with roughly 1/3 of what the store is selling them for. I have no idea what your local fish store is selling for. Maybe they're $25. Maybe they're 12, right? There can be a huge variance when it comes to fish. I can tell you what we sell them for. Maybe that'll help. Orange flash apistos. We currently sell them for $24.99. We were paying quite a bit of money for them. I know that I'm ordering some. Well, no, that's not true. I'm not ordering orange flash. I'm ordering super reds and a bunch of other apistos. And my goal is to sell them at around 17 or $18. And so if that was what we had when you walked in, you're going to get about $6 a piece. Now, the biggest problem I find with people wanting to sell fish to stores is they go, hey, you're selling that for $18. I want 1/3. And they want to bring me a fish that's 2/3 the size I get from wholesale. That's not how that works. Like, I'm going to get a very solid 2-inch fish. I'm not willing to pay $6 for a 1.5-inch Apisto. Um, and a lot of times they're like, well, I'll sell them for 4. Like, I'm not willing to pay $4 for that either. Like, they don't sell until they're about 2 inches. So I have to do the growing. That's one of the biggest things is not only the price, but make sure that your fish are as good or better. Now you can have too big too. Like, we don't want angels that are this big. Those are really hard to sell. Like, so sometimes, like, if your angels are too big, I don't want them either. So every fish has got a right size to sell, and you want to make sure that is happening. And so why would you only give 1/3, Corey? Because I gotta stay in business. Like, if I pay 1/3, then 1/3 goes to like overhead. So you've got meds, you've got rent, you've got the employees' time and all that kind of stuff, and then you've got the last third. The last third is potentially profit, but it's usually not all profit. It's like, yeah, it should be profit, but we actually needed to run some overtime and we need to do this, we need to do that. And so, the way it really works when you're in a business like this is an $18 fish, you're hoping you're somewhere between $1 and $2 in profit, actual profit by the end of selling it. That doesn't always happen. You can have die-offs. You can just have like, oh, it turns out we didn't sell enough fish. There can be things that can happen, but that's really what it, and that's why you can't just be like, why can't you just pay half? Like, well, already at $6, we were hoping to make $1 or $2 in actual profit. And that's kind of what you're probably looking at too, though, is you raised a fish, you had to put time and food and the water bill and the heating bill, and maybe that cost you $4. So maybe you're making $2 per fish, right? It can be hard, and hopefully at scale though, you're like, oh, I'm selling them 30 Apistos at a time, and we're selling 30 in a month. So hey, we made $60. Like that's good. If everything goes right. But you can also just have like, oh, what do you mean an employee, unplugged the heater while they were servicing it and didn't plug it back in. They got cold and then they got sick and then this happened. There are just happen chance things that are going to happen. So that's where that last third, that's why I say it's the potential profit. If everything goes right, that's the profit. When stuff goes wrong though, it can be like, well, that was, at least we didn't lose a ton of money. And that's usually the goal. There we go. Oh yeah. So I'm selling orange flash for local fish store. Should the price be per fish or pairs or be different? If you were to come to my store and you offered me pairs, I'd buy pairs all day long. Because most people that buy Apistos want pairs. About 15 to 20% just want a cool looking male as a showpiece fish, but most want pairs. So if you gave me that option, I would buy them from you over a wholesaler right there. If you go, I will guarantee pairs. If at the end of the month it turns out that 2 of the females became males, I'll swap those out on the next order. Great. Whereas if you're only offering per fish, that's okay too. It's just not preferable. But your store might be like, hey, our people only want to buy the males or only want to buy one at a time. And so we only buy them as singles. Talk to your store, but I would be stoked with Apistogramma pairs. That would be great. Same with guppies. I prefer them as pairs. I don't want to buy 50 fish. I want to buy 25 pairs. Now, if you said, I've got trios, 2 females and a male, I would love to buy trios of guppies. Those sell even better because everyone wants to breed them and they need more females than males. And this is what I never understand. I never understand this when I see sellers selling reverse trios of guppies. Like, who in the world is buying 2 males and a female? That makes no sense. Because 2 males and a girl, that's too many males for the girl. If you only want males, you don't even want the girl. I can't think of anywhere in me where I would need that. Now, there is the unicorn case, right? Like, oh, well, I bought 2 pairs and lost all of my males, and so I actually need a reverse trio. That's 1 out of 1,000 customers, though. So, what about breeding pairs of fish? Yeah, we will typically pay more for proven breeders, we will charge more for proven breeders, but not astronomically more. Because a breeder sometimes are like, well, one batch, uh, it's 50 fish. That would be $300. So I should get 100 bucks for my pair. It's like, sounds great, but someone like Dean or I would just go buy a pair of Epistos out of a tank for the 30 bucks or the 40 bucks and breed them anyway and have a younger pair that will live longer. That being said, some people aren't patient, and if we had pairs for, let's say, 40 bucks, maybe we can get 50 or 60 for a proven pair of fish, that surcharge. But honestly, it still can be harder. Sometimes I walk right out the door and it's great. Other times, like, oh, people just are not willing to pay. And the way you might see that in your normal fish keeping is, could you imagine, like, if you walked into my store, like, oh, this tank has a proven pair of guppies? You would just be like, yeah, they're male and female. It's basically proven. And depending on the fish, same thing, like a breeding pair of this African cichlid. It's like, uh-huh. Yeah, if you just have male and female, like, yeah, I know. But Epistos, they can be a little bit harder, and there's some, like discus, for instance, a proven pair of discus. Not all discus will just pair up and do well. So, it depends on the fish, and, it just depends. Employees don't know how to keep fish? No, I don't know how to keep fish. How do you treat, let's think of something hard here. How do you treat coolie loaches with velvet and camellinus red worm that came in with ammonia burn because you have 400 in the bag? Yeah, come up with a velvet medicine that won't just already kill the coolie loach, right? That will also still work with antibiotics and that they have compromised gills already. Like, in general, people think it's easy and we must know it all, but just like in medicine for humans, there's always extra factors. Like, well, how do you factor in that you had a deformed heart and you were a smoker for 7 years of your life and you've got this thing going on and you've got this and we can't do the surgery because of that and this is going on? It's real straightforward when it's like, oh yeah, you have the one thing, we can fix the one thing. But there's plenty of fish breeders that will bring us fish in that are sick. It is fairly common. They just don't know it. Like, there's people that make angelfish, right? And they've got thousands of angelfish, except they have camellinus redworm. And we have to treat it, then we have to tell them they have it. And that's why diseases exist. Like, if it was super easy, diseases wouldn't exist. Like, camellinus redworm would be eradicated. But the fact that it can live dormant inside of fish, the fact that it doesn't kill them quickly, the fact that if you aren't looking at the fishes, at basically their anus and really looking at it and feeding them well and seeing the worms develop, and that, yes, you could treat them right before you sold them, and then if you don't follow up with the treatment, they just have the eggs inside them, they still have them, right? So there's lots of stuff. So obviously my employees and myself, we know how to do pretty good with fish, but with a basic question like, are you telling me you don't? Like, no, I definitely do not know every scenario. I know a lot of scenarios. I do not. And things will die. Things just will die because you won't have all the information. You could bring me a fish to sell me. I have no idea outside of what you've told me. You literally could tell me, like, I raise these guppies, and you could have full on bred them and kept them in salt water, and you could have told me they were in 7.0 pH and full of plants. And that's the only knowledge I have. And I can try everything I can to save them. But because I didn't know that they were used to living in pH that was super high and super high hardness and all the salinity, and they literally have never seen freshwater bacteria or diseases before, I will never figure that out because I didn't have the information. And that happens all the time. We get a snippet of information and we have to take our best guesses and we have to do all of that. But, the reality is you were guessing a lot. You just, and doctors have to do that all the time. It's like you start treating a patient and things start happening and you just keep learning more information of like, what? Had you told us that, we wouldn't be where we're at right now. So yeah. Could I safely feed baby angelfish to a 14-inch Oscar if I end up with fry that I can't raise? Is there any potential issues? No, that should probably work out okay. There becomes a certain size where it's like, well, maybe don't feed them super big. Like when they're pretty small, yes. What I personally do is I just put them into the tank. If they get eaten, that's nature taking course. If they don't get eaten, you get to live there. So, Fernando, you're the type of person I classify that behind closed doors, I don't want to be around that person because you're playing the antagonist. So you're saying, so you don't ask? That's right. We've never asked. You're right. We don't ask anything. We don't know anything. You're right. Um, the reality is, I can ask you something about your fish, and you're going to give me 11 sentences, and you will have missed 99% of all the information you could have relayed about your fish. And so it's like you could follow up with like, you don't have a questionnaire that takes 7 months to fill out. No, we don't. We're talking about tropical fish. We're talking about common scenarios. We're talking about what actually happens. And yeah, there's always a factor in it. Just because you think you know it, you don't. And if it was easy, things wouldn't exist. We wouldn't have illnesses anymore. We wouldn't have die-off. There would be no chance left. But we have that happen all the time. So, are Odessa barbs a good schooling fish with angelfish or blue acaras singly? Yeah, I think if you have a big group of Odessa barbs, they're fairly chill. They don't tend to chase down extra long fins or anything like that. They've got a good color profile to them. Of the barbs, I find them to be on the more docile side. Yeah, I think they're a fairly decent pairing on either one of those. Now, you can always have exceptions to that, but in general, I think it would work out okay. A couple more questions. I'm calling. We're running a little over time, and I think dinner might be ready soon. It's only 5:11 here, 8 if you're on the East Coast, which you already know. Could my tank's 80-degree Fahrenheit temperature be causing mostly male guppy fry? What temp encourages more females? I don't believe there's any actual proven studies on the temperature affecting male and female guppies. There is a little bit of work done for like some cribs and some things like that. But I don't think one way or the other. So I would say no. I don't think it has that big of an impact. Any recommendations on keep root tabs in the substrate? When my cichlids see me put them in, they go out of their way to dig them up. It's only the time. Wait, it's the only time they mess with the Vallisneria. So you could treat it like African cichlids do this a lot. When you want to introduce new fish, you could do about 20% water change. You can also rearrange a little bit of the decor. You can put some food up top, and that will change all of the senses, if you will. Like it reestablish territories. Their sense of smell, they're smelling the food instead of like your arm and the root tabs and checking out what you're doing. And it's offering some distraction. I would try all of those things first. If they don't do that, though, I think, I think that becomes difficult. Can't always solve it. Fernando says, I take a sample of water because water is different. Yeah. What if you're like Dean, you're bringing in 15 different species and we don't want it to take all day? Then what? Candy, would there be any chance of shaking Dean's and Corey's hands on my behalf? I hope one day I will have the privilege. Honestly, Candy, Dean and I being in the same room at the same time doesn't happen that often with that many other people. The next chance will probably be when we do the store expansion. That's my guess. We'll probably try to rope Dean into that, get some more people showing up when we do that expansion. So if you can make that trip, there you go. My mollies and Corys love to chew up those Aquariumcoop root tabs too. Yeah, I think it's the gelatin. I don't know why they are attracted to it. It's just gelatin. Not sure what plants to get Go for the mystery box. It looks like I'll be trying some plants I've never kept before. Nice. Yeah, I'm trying to decide myself if I want to set up a tank with a mystery box. On one hand, I'm like, yeah, that because I'm agonizing. Like I'm looking at the tank right now. I'm like, I'm agonizing. Do I what direction I go? Where I could just be like, I'll go where the random odds take me. You get to see Dean this week? I don't even get to see Dean this week. It's not. I didn't put in my formal time request early enough, I guess. Let's see here. I think that's it. I think we've hit the end of the internet for the day. This is the time, now that we're 2 hours in, I need to remind you to buy all of our stuff. Do we have anything brand new? I don't think we have anything new, brand new. We just got the air pumps are lasting longer. Got plants in stock. Today's the good day to order plants, by the way. If you're local to the retail store, we just restocked insane amounts of spiderwood and driftwood. We also have the super cool vintage soda machine back. Get yourself a cool vintage soda for a couple bucks. What else we got going on there? I'm trying to think. I don't know. Maybe you'll see me wandering around Lexington, Kentucky this week. There's always that chance. Please don't stalk us. Like if you happen to see us, that'd be super cool, but stalkers are scary. Don't do that. Buy all our stuff. Ooh, there's a chance that maybe I'll bring some stuff to put in random boxes. Maybe I'll stuff my suitcase and bring some extra like prototypes and stuff and just drop them in random boxes this week. Although, pretend I'm not gonna do that because I think technically if I say I might do that, then it's like a lottery system. So I'm not doing that. Because I don't want to create something I'm not trying to do. I also don't want people to be like, hey, we're going to get a special thing. Like, my suitcase might be full. So, yeah. You're not going to Kentucky? You don't know that. You're just not going to Kentucky yet. All right. Has there been a rush on the Aquarium Co-op light? Now it's endangered? Ooh. That's my new favorite thing. I'm gonna talk to the company and see if we can officially, whenever we're discontinuing something, if we can change it to endangered. Although there's probably someone that'll be like, "What's endangered mean? Does that mean it's killing people?" Like, no. It's just a clever. I think it's way funnier to say it's endangered, and therefore, like, we won't be selling it. Let me see if the lights are. We did sell a bunch last week, but I don't know. Like, you can see a bunch, but a bunch of 3,000. I don't know. What are we down to? Well, we're down to 2,922. We had over 3,000 last week, but I don't know how many more than 3,000 because I've forgotten the number. So they're definitely endangered. They're not making more. They're not breeding. These lights are on the way out. I honestly have been thinking, like, is there any other ones that I know I need? How many do I need to like stash away for myself for like a project? Because I don't even want to have to start thinking about like who else's light would I use if I don't use my own. Like I just want my own. I like it. So, all right. Let's see. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next. Yeah, I'll be back. So I'll be here for next Sunday. Hopefully you guys will as well. It's already scheduled. You can hit that notification button so it reminds you when it pops up if you got those on. And yeah, Kentucky. I'm only there with travel 3 days, so I'm there and back real quick. I got some meetings and some stuff I want to do. I want to film a little bit. And yeah, if I had thought a little bit better, I might have planned a trip to visit some stores while I was there. There's some local stores, but I could have stayed a little bit extra and did more, but you never know. I always plan, and then when I'm actually there, I'm like, oh, I should have made it longer. Oh, I should have made it less because maybe I got more I needed to do this week here, and all of a sudden I don't have the time to be there. I never know when I'm planning months in advance, so can go either way. Thanks for buying all of our stuff. Continue to do so. Sync up your account to save 5% if you're a member. Come to our retail store, spend all of your money. Make sure you sync your account first if you're a member because you'll save 5% there. We'll see if my flu ball stuff pans out. I'll know more about that this week, I hope. And we'll see you later. Thanks for hanging out. I'm going to hit the button, and I'm going to go find some dinner time. Bye-bye. Yeah, make sure you compliment somebody. Do it.